Welcome to the Newport City Show. Expect cracking conversations from the key decision makers and the good folk of our city. Only one common theme, they're all trying to do the right thing and the best they can for us. Only one rule, it has to be about positive Newport.
Broadcasting in digital stereo, online, on your mobile phone and on your home devices.
Right here, right now.
Newport City Radio.
Joining me today is John, who is raising money for St. Stephen's Church in Pill. Hello, John. How are you?
Hi there. Very well, thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Cheers for having me on.
Really looking forward to learning a little bit more about the church, St. Stephen's Church, as I mentioned, in Pill, and kind of a little bit about the history. But for those who are listening to this that might not be familiar about the campaign or might not have seen it online, can you just explain it a little bit for us, please?
Yeah, so we've got a campaign running at the moment called Raising the Roof. The full name is Raising the Roof for Our Community in Pill. And it's on Just Giving at the moment, so you can find it easily on Google. Just search Raising the Roof Pill. In a nutshell, what we're doing is raising money so that we can plug a funding gap that we have to get the roof replaced on the church. So quite a classic problem for a church to have. But actually what I wanted to come on and talk about today is some of the community services that the church is providing, because it's a real hub in Pill, which is quite a disadvantaged area. So we really want to keep that going, and we need to replace the roof in order to do that.
Talk to me, you just mentioned about the kind of being a hub for Pill. What goes on there already?
Yeah, so it is a working church. So, first and foremost, we have church services and lots of people from the local community attend. But actually, it's a building which is in use 24/7, and we've got lots of different services based at this building. I won't go through an exhaustive list, but I'll run through some of the main ones. So firstly, it's a fully functioning youth centre, essentially. So we have summer holiday clubs where children can come socialise and play, do activities, and they're used by 80 families during school holidays. So, and I think that's, Easter and half terms and things, as well as for some holidays. So, right off the bat, 80 families using this is quite a significant number of people. And the vast majority of them live within walking distance of the church as well. A lot of immigrant families who have kind of recently arrived in Newport and want to make connections and, find other children for their kids to play with and all this kind of stuff. So it's a really, really vital youth asset. We've also just launched another service which is aimed more at the teenage category, because the holiday clubs are mostly for sort of toddlers, primary school age children. But we've just launched what we call the Bluebird, which is like a big American style school bus.
Nice.
Which you'll see if you just drive through the middle of Pill. You'll see it parked on the car park outside St. Stephen's. And we've got like games consoles and other stuff for teenagers to do there. And we're going to be having that open on quite a regular basis and running sessions out of there. So, that's probably the big one is youth work. There's a lot of other stuff going on as well. So we're a fully functioning food bank, supplying food free of charge to anyone in the community who approaches us, who needs it. We've also got a public meeting space that we hire out for very little, so other churches come to use it, or other groups that are not connected with churches can come and hire that as well, pretty much for whatever they want. We have a live music performance space. And we've also got some counselling services now that we've introduced. So, for example, somebody struggling with alcoholism, we've got somebody trained who can actually support them through that, and just be a helping hand in their life, who's based in a local community, who's a little bit easier to get an appointment with than the NHS or other services that are out there. So it's really just this big support network, really, for people of all ages, from the very young through to people who are quite elderly. We do a cafe as well for it's generally used by sort of more elderly residents to come and socialise once a week. So we've really got kind of all bases covered. It's very much like an open door ethos with us. So if you're struggling, or you just need some support, some friendships, some prayer, then you can come down to the church to one of these many services that we run, and you can just come and talk to us and use it in whatever way you want.
Because when I was doing a little bit of research ahead of this, 37% of local children live in poverty in the area. Am I right in saying?
Yeah.
Or was that Newport as a whole?
That is in Pill specifically. So Newport as a whole is relatively high, but Pill is one of the most deprived areas of the city. There's a number of reasons for that. It's partly just due to the long-term economic decline of the area. If you look at a lot of the buildings in the streets around Pill, it's actually some quite sort of ornate Victorian designs, which give you a clue that it was actually quite a sort of thriving and bustling commercial area. That was when the docks were really at their peak. But obviously now with the docks, everything's become kind of highly automated, and there's just far fewer people on site there day to day than there were back in Pill's heyday. So there's less people sort of coming in through the docks and renting properties and starting businesses in the area. It's a pretty sort of low rent area by Newport standards, and sort of low house price area by Newport standards. So a lot of people who have just got to the UK, maybe asylum seekers or economic migrants, are settling in Pill because that's like the only place they can afford to go, really. Quite often they don't speak much English, or they just don't have any connections at all in the area. So they're turning to the church just to get a foothold, really, and just like a nice, friendly, welcoming place that they can relax in, and then make connections through.
Because I suppose for going back to kind of the children's services you offer, like childcare, I feel is a big pressure on families nowadays, and having somewhere like you guys, for example, just takes a lot of stress and a lot of pressure off those families.
Definitely, yeah. The youth services in the school holidays are a vital service, no doubt about it. There's people from all different kind of cultural backgrounds who are bringing their kids there, and they're all getting to meet and play and get to know each other. Some people in the area have quite large families as well, and sometimes they're in houses which are not like particularly large. So it's just a nice place for them to get out and just let off some steam. Have a cup of tea for the mums and things like that. And it's like, yeah, it's just a really good thing that we feel is important to be giving to the community as a priority. It's one of the things that the church just feels that it absolutely must offer, like a duty really to serve the people in the area.
Talk to me about the history of the building, because obviously it's doing all this great work at the moment, and fingers crossed it does for many years to come. But it's been around for how many years?
So it was built in the Victorian period. I don't have the exact date. I think it was second half of the 19th century. So compared to a lot of churches, it's actually not that old.
Okay.
And the Victorians were known for throwing up buildings, including churches, but all sorts of different buildings, in a relatively sort of cheap and haphazard way. Okay. So they were really quick, they developed the country very quickly, generated a lot of economic growth, but actually now the people who have inherited ownership of these buildings, stewardship of these buildings, are finding that there's quite a lot of maintenance issues which have to be constantly addressed. Obviously, for a church, the classic maintenance issue is the roof. So at St. Stephen's, they've basically got some lead flashing around the edges of the roof, and every winter when it gets battered by these winter storms that come through, water's just getting blown in between the roof joins and the actual and the brickwork. And if you go inside the church, you can see there's these kind of patches of mouldy looking damp in a few different spots. And we might be able to hold out for this winter, but we really want to start the roof replacement as early in the new year as we can, and hopefully have that new roof on by kind of mid 2026. We're not really sure how many more years the roof is really going to hold out before it just becomes untenable and we have to close the church. So it is quite a pressing project that we have to crack on and do, and we're really just looking for support of people in Pill, in Newport, and also across the country, if people have friends who are willing to donate, so that we can make this happen.
Because I think you just mentioned then, this isn't a incident exclusive to St. Stephen's, as it is something that's becoming more and more apparent across the UK, across churches. Yeah,
all churches need their roof replacing at some point, right? So, I mean, we might be talking decades, or it might be hundreds of years in some cases, but eventually, that will need doing. Obviously, with a lot of rural churches, where there are maybe only a small handful of people showing up to services, and churches that don't really run much else apart from sort of church services and weddings and things like that. Unfortunately, a lot of those are closing. So if you go out to rural Monmouthshire, for example, and just go to sort of very small villages up there, you'll quite often see that there is a church which has stood for hundreds of years, but it's actually just kind of bricked up, or the gates are locked and it's not really being used anymore, which is sad. But we feel in Pill it is quite a vibrant, energetic community. We have the carnival, we have lots of things going on there all the time, and the church is a focal point of that. So we're absolutely certain that there's a demand for the church and what it offers, and that people are getting benefit from this. I honestly don't believe that the church is likely to close anytime soon, but we've just got to get the roof issue sorted. That's the main thing for us right now.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it? Because I think you just kind of touched on about how it's a hub, and it's somewhere for people to go in a time where there might not be anywhere else for them to turn.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, people knock on the door, of the vicarage or of the church, sometimes late at night, and they'll say, "Have you got any food that we can have?" Because I can't afford to buy food, and things like that. So, some people are relying on it for kind of long-term support and to have a social network. Other people in the community, they know that the church is there. They might have interacted with it at some point in the past, but actually they might have a specific problem where some money that they're expecting to come into their bank account has not come in for some reason. They literally don't have anything in the cupboards or in the fridge. So they just know that if they knock on the church door, sometimes they might be a bit embarrassed to do it, to be honest, but if they know that if they go there, knock on the door, then the church will be generous with its resources, and nobody ever gets turned away. Because
touching kind of upon the food bank, there's a bit of a stigma around it. Is that fair to say? Kind of
using a food bank.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's obviously become a very prevalent thing in society. In sort of recent years, there's been a lot more talk about food banks and people setting them up. I think there's a mixture of people. There are people who need to use them in the short term. Sometimes even professionals who need to use them. Perhaps they've been laid off or something, and they've got a large family that they need to feed. Certainly there might be some anxiety and some kind of shame in approaching the food bank, and they kind of want to keep it a little bit quiet. Other people are using them like longer term, so it's kind of become a little bit more integrated into their life, and the food bank are happy for them to keep coming back for more, and they're just kind of using it as like part of their kind of long-term support, I suppose. So it depends who you ask, really.
What is your role at the church?
Really just like a member of the congregation.
Okay.
I'm not like a pastor or anything like that at the church. So I'm running this campaign at the moment. That's my main role. I also play in the church band quite a bit, and I do a little bit of maintenance around the grounds and things like that. So general dog's body, general helper, just long-term member of the congregation there who's kind of happy to get involved in stuff, I guess.
What instrument do you play in the band?
Generally bass.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe a bit of percussion. And I should probably try singing at some point, but I am a bit scared to sing because it's difficult.
It is very difficult. How much are you looking to raise for this?
So there's funding coming from a range of different sources.
Okay.
So the amount that we're looking to raise in public donations is going to be a small chunk of the overall pot, because we're applying to various charitable foundations and things like this. We want to raise 30,000 as a church in public donations, so quite a sizable sum of money. It is creeping up all the time. We launched it a few weeks ago now, and we want to try and hit our 30 grand target by Christmas, ideally. So you can follow the progress of that on Just Giving, Raising the Roof Pill. Please donate to that if you feel that you're able to, or maybe forward it on to somebody who you think would like to donate. Really, every small contribution to that is just going to help us inch closer to the target. But yeah, the target's 30,000, and we feel that's kind of ambitious, but also realistic, as long as enough people hear about this campaign and kind of buy into it, I guess.
And I take it that's only going to the roof. There's no other planned projects with this, or planned maintenance with the money you're looking to raise, or?
Yeah, good question. So there is actually a phased project that we're going to be working on.
Okay.
So the roof replacement is really just part of phase 1, and then there'll be a phase 2 and possibly even more in the future. So we're really looking at completely revamping the entire church grounds and building over the next few years. So phase 1 is going to be the roof replacement. We've also already upgraded the community garden, which is it's like a kids' playground essentially, that local kids in the area can pretty much just let themselves in and come and use that. So we've done that, and we've got some storage coming into the car park soon, so that we can upgrade the food bank and start stocking a lot more things. And we've also got the bus that I mentioned before. So all of that combined with the roof replacement is the first phase of this. So that's stuff that's already very much in progress and will be happening, has either happened or will be happening within the next few months. And then as a second phase, we want to actually make some alterations inside the church, so maybe add some additional rooms, or maybe even add some extra floors into the building, so that we've got more space to run even more services that we plan to introduce, certainly more youth services, because we want to have lots of different age groups coming in and be able to really sort of tailor to, specifically to their age groups. So at the moment we just do kind of toddlers and primary school age, and we're starting with teenage stuff soon, but really we want to actually split that down into smaller groups with very sort of specific age bands, and have different things going on all the time for them. And I think we want to do some general maintenance to the grounds. There's quite a lot of trees on site that need some work doing to them, and the hall also needs a bit of an update as well. So it's the whole lot. Ultimately, it's a lot of work that needs to be done, quite a bit of money that needs to be raised, but there's a lot of very dedicated people involved.
Including yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is, raising the money is one part of it, but there's lots of people who, have come up with ideas, things that we can do, and it's all good stuff.
Before I ask the last question, is there anything that, I'll probably edit this out the interview, is there anything that I haven't asked that you would like me to ask? Is there any other points you'd like to cover, or have we covered it all?
I think we've done it, to be fair, man.
Yeah,
it's probably a pretty simple message. So,
in which case, last question from me, where can people go to donate? Where can people go to find out more? Are you on social media and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so it's all on Just Giving right now.
Okay.
We've just got that page on Just Giving as the focal point. There will be some sort of promotional video coming soon, so you can learn more about the life of the church and the services that it's offering, and more about the project. So keep an eye out for that when it launches. That'll probably be on YouTube. It might be on things like Facebook and Instagram as well. But right now we've just got the page on Just Giving. So if you go on Google, search Raising the Roof Pill. The full name is Raising the Roof for Our Community in Pill. Either of those searches should get you there. You can track the progress of how much we've raised, and you can read a little bit more about the scope of the project on that page.
Thank you so much, John, for coming in. Fingers crossed. It's so important that something like this stays open, especially in the community like Pill, because as we've spoken about, it's probably one of the most deprived areas, not just in Newport, probably Wales as a whole. So it is vitally important that we see something like this stay open. All the best, and fingers crossed that you raise as much as you can.
Appreciate it, Luke. Thanks very much.